Evening, everyone. It's Wednesday afternoon at 5:52, and no golf today, so I got right to work. Okay, so this is video number 840. It's your closing comment for Wednesday, July 7th. And again, I remind you, hit that subscribe button. Okay, so today was kind of a weird day. We had a bunch of news. We had the JOLTS number, which came in at 9,209,000 and looked like it was actually lower versus last week's 9,286,000. But in point of fact, that 9,286 was revised down by almost 100,000 to 9,193. So last week's JOLTS number, which was down, was really not as good as it looked. Mortgage applications were down 1.8%. Last week they were down 6.9%, so down a little less, but down. And the Fed minutes were absolutely a non-event. Nobody did anything with them, and usually that's pretty much market moving. Interest rates were substantially lower all day, rallied a little, but the bonds were up about just under 1.25. As for the market, it was really a strange one. We had the Dow up 104, 0.3%, and the advanced declines were 1.1 to 1 down. We had the NASDAQ up a big $1.42, but regardless, still a new closing high. But advanced declines there were 2 to 1 down. Volume was up very slightly. The S&P new closing high up 14.59, or about 1/3%, and the Russell was down again, down 21.66, or just under 1%. The Russell, since last Thursday, when it closed 23.30, today closed 22.52 and change. That's a 4% decline in the Russell since last Thursday. So basically 4 days of trading. And no participation on the upside here, while the NASDAQ, in point of fact, the Dow made a new closing high. The NASDAQ continues to make new closing highs. The S&P had one down day in the last 8, and it too, new closing high. Transports were up 80, or about 0.5%. Nothing really overwhelming. In the Dow, we had 21 up, 9 down. The 9 that were down were led by Boeing, down 30 Dow points. Goldman Sachs down 14. Salesforce down 12. On the upside, we had Home Depot adding 28, 3M adding 20, Apple adding 17, and Microsoft and Honeywell each adding about 15. Okay, so the NASDAQ was pretty much split. We had new highs and big moves up in Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Google, Alphabet. Amazon has been making new highs, as has Microsoft. The Apple is getting close, and it looks like a breakout, but it has not made a new high yet. There's a lot of talk about the iPhone 13, but that's still probably a couple of months off. On the downside, though, we had Facebook, Netflix, NVIDIA, Tesla, Alibaba, and Baidu. Those last two were probably more involved in the anti-Chinese market, and I think for good reason. The meme stocks were all lower. We had AMC down 11%, GME down 5%, and Wish down 8%. In my sectors, we had on the downside biopharma, air and cruise lines, retail, work from home, pot and energy. On the upside, we had just two, defense and food supply chain, and infrastructure was mixed. Okay, so we had a couple of big movers, and one of them that I saw a great deal of chatter in our room and other places was NEGG, NEGG. Let's go to the picture. This is NEGG. The stock looks like it just really took off in a big way. Unless you go to the weekly and you bring it in a little and you see that they just reversed the stock at the end of last year, 1 for 8, and that the high on the stock was 108. And this company's big claim to fame is the fact that they build customized computers. You can order any kind of computer that you want. Now, I'm not sure, but it seems to me you can do the same thing for Dell. You can do pretty much the same thing from Acer. And I know you can do anything that you want at Apple. So, this is a stock that moved from nowhere last week, $10, sorry, 10 to 19 last Wednesday. A couple of days of quiet side-by-side action. Friday closing 19.20 after being 23 and change. Yesterday, up 41%, 27.20 up 8. And today, the stock traded 79 before closing regular hours, 67.57, up 148%. So, basically 10 to 80 with a close of 67. So, that's just 600%. Again, I have no clue what is so special about being able to order a computer built the way you want to build it. Seems to me, as I said, Dell, Acer, who does own the other company that used to do this in anything that you wanted to order, Gateway, and just I don't get it. Maybe it's me, but I'm going to guess it's not. And the other stock that I mentioned this morning, OPNT. OPNT has a new nasal spray that is like Narcan is. I don't remember who makes Narcan, naloxone. And its stock moved from 13 and change, been sitting here a while. Let's look at the longer term. No reverses. Oh, 1 for 100 way back in 2015 with a high of $51 on an adjusted basis. That one has been sitting pretty quietly in this 13 and a half, 12 and a half, on a high day, 15. It moved today to close. Let's take a look. Up 284 at 16.12 after trading as high as 19.90. So 13 basically to 19. So, nothing like NEGG, but then again, this company's nasal spray only saves people from dying from overdoses. So I could see why buying a computer from some firm would be 6 times as exciting. Okay, so enough of those. the chart on the screen is the oil, and the oil has been all over the place and not necessarily in a good way. As I've pointed out many times in the last couple of months, on the weekly basis, we were up 7 weeks in a row, higher high, higher low. This week breaks it, because while we have a higher high, we now have a lower low. More specifically, on the daily, we've been fighting with the questionable press releases lacking complete clarity from OPEC Plus. Excuse me. And yesterday we went from just under $77, and I mentioned this in this morning's video, to under $73, closing $73.37. This morning, I also mentioned it because it was up almost $1.50 early on, and when I did my opening comments around 8:45, it was only up 30 cents. Well, it continued lower and traded as low as 71. So 77 yesterday, 71 today. That's a pretty extreme move. It went from up $1.50 this morning to down $2.30 before settling kind of 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way down on the range, and as I said, down 117. So we'll see what that looks like overnight. The gold, which we got out of this morning, or midday actually, closed up on the day, and we actually just rolled. We had a bunch of options that had a value of about, or a cost of about 83 cents. We had an inside day today, but we did manage to sell those for about anywhere from $1.29 to $1.39. We sold the first half of it on yesterday, actually, early in the morning at $1.80. So we took some nice profits there, and we turned around because I like the fact that we are closing over 1800, even though it was an inside day. But I'm looking at this 5-day, and the 5-day looks like it's about to go through the 100-day to the upside, and then work its way to the 20-day and possibly higher. So I think that we have a solid trade here. So I rolled the options out from the 169 GLD calls to the 171 GLD calls. As I mentioned yesterday and the day before, this was one of Dennis's trades down here. This is when we originally got in, versus about 1760, and we've had several days of higher high, higher low. Today, as I mentioned, is an inside day. The other one that I want to mention here, there are two more. One is the nat gas, which was down about $4 today, but it looks a little on the weak side to me. I was looking for 335 to 340 as a retracement move. Not crazy about the formation here. This will be this 360 area where it closed today, or close to where it closed today. Should be a fair amount of supply between that 360 and 370 should we get back up there. And I'm sure we will. I'm just not sure if we're going to trade 335 to 345 first, which wouldn't bother me at all. Okay, Bitcoin was a little higher today, closed about 2/3 up on the range, but I just want to mention this. We are out of our GBTC position, so we're out of Bitcoin, and what we're in is Ethereum. Lots of reasons why I like Ethereum better, but one of the main ones is, if you see here, this chart is not as bent to the downside, and you can see here the 5-day is actually crossing the 20-day to the upside, and the comparison is Bitcoin, sorry, This is the Bitcoin chart, and you can see that this chart has much more of a downward bias. We're basically here in Ethereum versus here in Bitcoin, and it's been a little on the sluggish side. So I'm just moving in that direction. All right, everyone. There you go. I'll be back first thing in the morning. Be careful out there. Oh, and be sure to order your new computer from NEGG, because clearly there must be something special about theirs.